This is John Michael Grogan with Advancing Your World. Sometimes we learn things from unusual sources. I want to share with you an unusual story today.
Dr. John Michael Grogan is a worldwide best-selling author and speaker. In this podcast, Advancing Your World, Dr. John Michael will help you position yourself for success by achieving greater purpose, significance, and exceptionalism. Now, here's Dr. John Michael Grogan.
I heard an interesting story recently from a friend regarding a building contractor. This contractor had an elderly carpenter who served him faithfully for over 3 decades. One day the old man came to the builder and told him of his plans to retire, spend more time with his family, and work in the garden, which he loved to do. The contractor was sorry to see his highly valued worker go and asked if he would stay on for just one more house as a personal favor. The old man agreed, but soon poor workmanship and the use of inferior materials gave evidence that his heart was no longer in his work. When the house was completed, the contractor came by for a final inspection. After the inspection, he handed the front door keys to the carpenter as applause broke out among the old man's fellow workers. "This is your house," the contractor said. "My gift to you for all the years of your loyalty and quality workmanship." The old carpenter was stunned. What a shock! What a shame! If he had only known he was building his own house, he would have done it all so differently. And so it is with us. We build our lives in a distracted way, reacting rather than acting, often willing to put up less than the best. Then one day, with dismay, we realize that we are now living in the house we have built. Think of yourself as the carpenter. Think about your house. Each day you place a board, drive a nail, or erect a wall. Build wisely, for it is the only life you will ever build. The plaque on the wall says it all. Life is a do-it-yourself project. Your life today is a result of your choices in the past. Your life tomorrow will be the result of the choices you make today. Choices, not chance or luck, determines our fortunes. There's a line from an old church song. Take my heart and form it. Take my mind and transform it. Take my will and conform it to yours, O Lord. Rick Warren writes in his best-selling book, The Purpose-Driven Life, that we don't change from the outside in. Change, real change, life-giving change, Warren says, comes from the inside and works its way out. Our worldview begins to change from the inside. When you blame others, Robert Anthony, professor at Harvard Business School, said, you give up your power to change. You see, change is also a choice. The enemy of our soul fights to establish a beachhead on the shores of our mind and heart. Here's an interesting insight. If the evil one has captured our heart, he will leave us pretty much alone. Why bother pestering someone he's already captured? Life will seem like everything is on hum, but we're swimming downstream with current towards his great net. If, however, we are swimming upstream like the proverbial salmon, striving for the eternal prize, the enemy will come against us with magnum force. On the front page of my website, johnmgrogan.com, I quote Vince Lombardi, one of my favorite quotes. Those who reached the top of the mountain did not fall there. Life is a climb. I like another one of Lombardi's quotes. Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. I have found in my research that all the great thinkers have agreed on this point. One of the saddest things in all the world, I think, is the person who dies with his or her song still in them. Fear is a terrible thing. Like Shakespeare said, our doubts are traitors and makes us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. Many people cripple themselves by a negative mindset, immobilized by things like cynicism, a sense of entitlement, bitterness, jealousy. All these things can hamstring us from achieving our very best in life. Jealousy is particularly pernicious and poisonous because it can set in motion anger, resentment, feelings of inadequacy, and disgust. We have to be careful about what we focus on, to be mindful of something called self-fulfilling prophecy. You focus on something long enough, and it just very well may come true. I think of the song The Pretender by Jackson Browne. Are you there? Say a prayer for the pretender who started off so young and strong, only to surrender. The greatest surrender, I think, is the loss of hope. Discouragement can trigger this loss. Then comes despair. When we reach the point of despair, we are in serious deep weeds. I remember 1980 as if it were yesterday. I remember God trying to break into my life, and I was digging in my heels with all I was worth. I wanted to sit on the throne of my life. Because we are endowed with a free will, God does not force us to accept Him or His ways. I would say that today, the majority of people around the world want nothing to do with God. St. Teresa of Avila, Spanish mystic, said, "The mind is like a wild horse. It does not want to be bridled." Violent men take the kingdom of heaven. If we search deeply enough, we find that violent, in this case, means persistent. Persistent people win the greatest prize. And the greater the prize, the greater the resistance. God turned me over to myself, let me run my own life. This sovereign God let me go my own way, until finally I had painted myself into a corner. I was left with two options: suicide or give up my power and allow God to come alongside. That day was 40 years ago, and I can say without hesitation, I never regretted it. Out of my self-inflicted wounds, my pride and arrogance, I came out of the darkness. Friendship with anyone, including God, is a slow-growth flower. Until next time, this is John Michael Grogan saying, be strong, be bold, be courageous.
Sign up for exclusive access to Dr. Grogan's newsletter, and as an added bonus, you'll receive access to the growth chart that Dr. Grogan talks about in the podcast Majoring in the Majors. Visit johnmgrogan.com and sign up today. That's johnmgrogan.com. And don't forget, subscribe to Advancing Your World on your favorite podcast app.